This is Hiral Popania. Today in this video lecture, we are going to discuss about hexose monophosphate shunt, hexose monophosphate pathway or the hexose monophosphate shunt. It is also called as pentose phosphate pathway or the phosphogluconate pathway. It is the alternative pathway to glycolysis and the TCA cycle for the oxidation of the glucose. Hexose monophosphate shunt is more anabolic in nature. So the HMP, that means hexose monophosphate pathway, the other name of that is the pentose phosphate pathway and phosphogluconate pathway. This pathway that is used as an alternative pathway for the oxidation of the glucose, then the glycolysis and the TCA cycle. Hexose monophosphate pathway, that is the more anabolic in nature. That means it is useful for the synthesis of the many molecules. It is concerned with the biosynthesis of NADPH and the pentose sugar. About 10% of the glucose entering into this pathway per day. The liver and the RBC metabolize about 30% of the glucose by this pathway. As we know, that is the hexose monophosphate pathway that is most useful for the biosynthesis of NADPH and the pentose sugar. About 10% of the glucose that is enter into the HMP shunt per day and about 30% of the glucose that are metabolized by this pathway in the liver as well as the RBC. HMP, that is the unique multifunctional pathway. Mainly HMP shunt, that is the start with the glucose 6-phosphate. The no ATP is directly utilized or the produced in the HMP shunt. It is the multifunctional pathway. Several interconvertible substances produces which are proceed in the different directions in the metabolic reaction. The HMP shunt, that is the unique multifunctional pathway. It is start with the glucose 6-phosphate. There is no directly energy required for the produce in the HMP shunt. The several interconvertible substances which are produced in this pathway and forward to the other directions for the other metabolic reactions. Now, location of this pathway. The enzyme for this HMP shunt, they are located into the cytosol. The tissues such as liver, adipose tissues, adrenal gland, erythrocytes, testes, lactic mammary gland are highly active in the HMP shunt. So these are the tissues where the HMP shunt, that is the utilized for the oxidation of the glucose. Most of these tissues are involved in the biosynthesis of fatty acids and the steroids which are dependent on the supply of NADPH. The above tissues which are involved in the biosynthesis of fatty acids and the steroids. So for the biosynthesis of fatty acids and the steroid, they are use the NADPH. So in the HMP shunt, there is a biosynthesis of the NADPH and the pentoses occur. So the formation of the NADPH, formation of the NADPH in the HMP shunt, they are most utilized in the biosynthesis of the fatty acids and the steroids in these tissues. Now the reactions of the pathway. The sequence of the reactions of the HMP shunt, that is divided into the mainly two phases. First one oxidative phase and second one non-oxidative phase. The reactions of the HMP shunt. First oxidative phase and second one non-oxidative phase. Starting with the first phase, oxidative phase, the HMP shunt, that is the start with the glucose 6-phosphate. In that reaction, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme, that is the NADP dependent enzyme that converts glucose 6-phosphate to 6-phosphogluconolactone. The first reaction of the HMP shunt, that is conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to 6-phosphogluconolactone in the presence of glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. The latter is then hydrolyzed by gluconolactone hydrolase enzyme to phosphogluconate. The second reaction in this HMP shunt, there is a conversion of 6-phosphogluconolactone to 6-phosphogluconate in the presence of gluconolactone hydrolase. The third reaction in the oxidative phase, the next reaction that is involving the synthesis of NADPH is catalyzed by the 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase enzyme to produce 3-keto-6-phosphogluconate, which then undergo the decarboxylation to give ribulose 5-phosphate. The reaction of the HMP shunt, in that the synthesis of the NADPH, that is catalyzed by the 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase enzyme, and that gives the 3-keto-6-phosphogluconate, which undergoes the decarboxylation, that means the liberation of the carbon dioxide molecule, and give the ribulose 5-phosphate. So first reaction, that is the conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to 6-phosphogluconolactone in the presence of G6PD, that means glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. Next, the conversion of the 6-phosphogluconolactone to 6-phosphogluconate in the presence of gluconolactone hydrolase, and the next, the 6-phosphogluconate that converted into the ribulose 5-phosphate in the presence of 6-phosphogluconate dehydrogenase enzyme, and there is the synthesis of NADPH. Now G6PD, that means glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme, regulates the HMP shunt. The first reaction that is catalyzed by the G6PD is most regulatory enzyme in the HMP shunt. This enzyme catalyzes the irreversible reactions. So the conversion of the glucose 6-phosphate to 6-phosphogluconolactone, that is the irreversible reaction in this HMP shunt. NADPH, that is the competitively inhibits this G6PD. It is the ratio of NADPH and the NAD that ultimately determines the flux of this cycle. The NADPH, that is inhibit the G6PD enzyme, so it depends on the NADPH to NAD plus ratio, which determines the preceding of this cycle. This is the reaction of the HMP shunt, the first phase, that is the oxidation phase. The first reaction, that is the glucose 6-phosphate converted into the 6-phosphogluconolactone in the presence of glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. There is a formation of the NADPH molecule in the presence of glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. The next, that is the 6-phosphogluconolactone in the presence of the gluconolactone hydrolase enzyme, that gives the 6-phosphogluconate. Next, the 6-phosphogluconate, that is the converted into the ribulose 5-phosphate. Here the phosphogluconate dehydrogenase enzyme that gives the 6-NADPH from the 6-NADP, and there is a convert liberation of the carbon dioxide molecule in this reaction. So in the oxidation phase, the first reaction, that is the glucose 6-phosphate converted into the 6-phosphogluconate in the presence of G6PD, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme. The 6-phosphogluconate that is converted into the 6-phosphogluconate in the presence of gluconolactone hydrolase enzyme. There is an addition of the water molecule. Next, 6-phosphogluconate converted into the ribulose 5-phosphate, that is the 5-carbon ribulose 5-phosphate in the presence of phosphogluconate dehydrogenase enzyme. In this reaction, there is a synthesis of NADPH from the NAD+. The next, that is the non-oxidative phase. After the oxidation phase, there is a non-oxidation phase occur in the non-oxidative phase. The non-oxidative reactions are concerned with the interconversion of 3, 4, 5 and the 7 carbon monosaccharide. The ribulose 5-phosphate, that is the 5-carbon monosaccharide, that is acted upon by the epimerase to produce the xylulose 5-phosphate, while ribose 5-phosphate ketoisomerase converts ribulose 5-phosphate to ribose 5-phosphate. In the oxidation phase, there is a conversion of the 6-phosphogluconate into the ribulose 5-phosphate. The ribulose 5-phosphate that is converted into the two molecules, that is the xylulose 5-phosphate and the ribulose 5-phosphate to ribose 5-phosphate. For both, there is a two enzyme responsible for that. First, that is the epimerase enzyme produce the xylulose 5-phosphate, and second one, ribose 5-phosphate ketoisomerase enzyme converts the ribose 5-phosphate. Non-oxidative phase, that is mostly concerned with the just interconversion of the 3, 4, 5 and the 7 carbon monosaccharides. So from the 5 carbon to the conversion of the 5 carbon xylulose 5-phosphate and the 5 carbon ribose 5-phosphate. Here is the reaction. In the oxidation phase, there is a formation of ribulose 5-phosphate, that is the 5-carbon monosaccharide. In this, the ribulose 5-phosphate epimerase enzyme convert to xylulose 5-phosphate 5-carbon monosaccharide. Here the ribose 5-phosphate ketoisomerase enzyme that converts the ribose 5-phosphate. The enzyme transketolase catalyzes the transfer of 2-carbon moiety from xylulose 5-phosphate to ribose 5-phosphate to give the 3-carbon glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and the 7-carbon pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. The xylulose 5-phosphate and ribose 5-phosphate that is converted from the ribulose 5-phosphate. Next reaction, in the presence of the transketolase enzyme, there is a transfer of the carbon moiety towards the xylulose to ribose. That means the 3-carbon glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate produced and the 7-carbon pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate produced. The transketolase enzyme that is dependent on the coenzyme, that is the thiamine pyrophosphate, that is the TPP, and the presence of the magnesium ion. Transaldolase brings about the transfer of 3-carbon atom from the pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and gives the fructose 6-phosphate and 4 carbon, that is the erythrose 4-phosphate. After the conversion of the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and the 7 carbon pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate, the activity of the trans-aldolase enzyme active. There is a pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. The transfer of the 3 molecule from that to the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So it gives the fructose 6-phosphate, and the transfer of this 3 carbon from the 7-phosphate pseudoheptulose, there is a 4 carbon moiety produced, that the erythrose 4-phosphate. The xylulose 5-phosphate and the ribose 5-phosphate, there is a activity of the transketolase enzyme on that, which is dependent on the thiamine pyrophosphate. In this xylulose 5-phosphate, that transfer the moiety 3 carbon moiety towards the ribose 5-phosphate, which gives the pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. Xylulose 5-phosphate, in that the transfer of the 3 molecule of the carbon. So there is a formation of the glyceraldehyde 3 carbon molecule. So the 5 carbon xylulose phosphate and the 2 carbon moiety, that is transfer from the ribose, it gives pseudoheptulose 5 plus 2, that is the 7 carbon moiety pseudoheptulose, and the fragment, that is the remain after the transfer of the 2 moiety, there is a 3 carbon, that is the known as glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. The activity of the trans-aldolase enzyme, in this there is a, from the pseudoheptulose, there is a 1, 2 and the 3 carbon, that is transferred into the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So 3 carbon and the transfer of the 3 carbon from pseudoheptulose, there is a formation of the 6 carbon moiety, that is known as the fructose 6-phosphate 6 carbon. After the 7 carbon and minus 3 carbon, it gives the 4 carbon moiety, that is the erythrose 4-phosphate. In this reaction of the trans-aldolase enzyme, there the pseudoheptulose transfer their 3 carbon moiety towards the glycerine. So 3 plus 3 carbon produce the fructose 6-phosphate. After the transfer of the 3 carbon, there is a remaining 4 carbon moiety, that is known as the erythrose 4-phosphate. Now transketolase act on the xylulose 5-phosphate and the transfer of 2 carbon fragment from it to erythrose 4-phosphate to generate fructose 6-phosphate and the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Fructose 6-phosphate and the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can be further catabolized through glycolysis and the citric acid cycle. Glucose may be also synthesized from these two compounds. Now, after that, the trans-aldolase enzyme, transketolase enzyme activity, that is the active, in that the xylulose 5-phosphate and the transfer of the 2 carbon moiety from the glyceraldehyde from it to produce erythrose 4-phosphate to generate the fructose 6-phosphate and the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate molecule. Now, fructose 6-phosphate and the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate can be further catabolized through the glycolysis and the citric acid cycle, and the glucose may be also synthesized from these two compounds, that means fructose 6-phosphate and the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Reaction: the erythrose 4-phosphate and the fructose 6-phosphate Fructose is the phosphate that is produced from the 2 molecule of the glyceraldehyde moiety. Now erythrose 4-phosphate, which contains the 4 carbon. Xylulose 5-phosphate. They both condense in the presence of transketolase enzyme by the transfer of the 2 carbon moiety from the xylulose 5-phosphate towards the erythrose 4-phosphate. So 4 plus 2 carbon, which gives the 6 carbon, that is the fructose 6-phosphate moiety. The after 5 carbon minus 2 carbon, which leads to the 3 moiety remaining, so it is known as the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. The 3 carbon glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, 2 molecule that produce the 1 fructose 6-phosphate molecule. So in this pathway there is a 1 fructose 6-phosphate, then the 2 molecule of the fructose 6-phosphate and the 2 molecule of the fructose 6-phosphate. That means 2 plus 2 plus 1, 5 fructose 6-phosphate, that is produce the glucose 6-phosphate molecule from the fructose 6-phosphate. The whole pathway of the hexose monophosphate pathway, in that the 6 glucose 6-phosphate converted into the 6-phosphogluconolactone, both having the 6 carbon and the 6 molecule. After that the 6 carbon 6-phosphogluconate molecule, that is the produced from the 6-phosphogluconolactone. Next the 6-phosphogluconolactone converted into the ribulose 5-phosphate, which has the 5 carbon moiety. From the ribulose 5-phosphate there is the conversion of into xylulose 5-phosphate and the ribose 5-phosphate. The 6 molecule of the ribulose 5-phosphate converted into the 4 molecule of the xylulose 5-phosphate and the 2 molecule of the ribose 5-phosphate. Now the 2 molecule of the xylulose 5-phosphate, there is the conversion of the pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate by the transfer of the 2 carbon moiety from ribose 5-phosphate to xylulose 5-phosphate. In this reaction, the xylulose 5-phosphate converted into the pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate by transfer of 2 carbon moiety from ribose 5-phosphate, that means 5 carbon of xylulose 5-phosphate and transfer of the 2 carbon moiety from the ribose 5-phosphate, that means 7 carbon of the pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate. The remaining 3 carbon moiety, that is known as the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. The next reaction, that is the after the formation of the pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate, there is a transfer of the 3 carbon moiety to the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So 7 minus 3, that is the 4 carbon. 4 carbon, that is the erythrose 4-phosphate, and the 3 carbon that is transferred to the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, that is the 3 carbon plus 3 carbon, that is the transfer from the pseudoheptulose 7-phosphate, that is the known as the fructose 6-phosphate. Next, that is the erythrose 4-phosphate, and the remaining 2 molecule of the xylulose 5-phosphate, they are condensed and they give fructose 6-phosphate and the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Again, the erythrose 4-phosphate, there is produced from the transfer of 3 carbon moiety to the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. The erythrose 4-phosphate and the xylulose 5-phosphate, the condensation of this both molecule gives the 6 carbon moiety of the fructose 6-phosphate and the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. The glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, the 2 molecule and the 3 carbon moiety, they are condensed and form the 1 molecule of the fructose 6-phosphate. So here the formation of the 2 fructose 6-phosphate, 2, then the 1 molecule of the fructose 6-phosphate and here the 2 molecule of the fructose 6-phosphate. So 2 plus 1 plus 2, the 5 fructose 6-phosphate that converted into the glucose 6-phosphate 5 molecule. Again the regeneration of the glucose 6-phosphate. So glucose 6-phosphate 6 molecule converted into the 5 glucose 6-phosphate with the loss of the 1 carbon and production of the NADPH. For the complete oxidation of the glucose 6-phosphate to 6 carbon dioxide molecule, we have to start with the 6 molecule of the glucose 6-phosphate. Of these 6, 5 mole are generated with the production of the 12 NADPH. So the overall reaction we are represented as 6 glucose 6-phosphate, 12 NAD plus and the 6 H2O water molecule gives the 6 carbon dioxide which is liberated in this reaction and the 12 NADPH that is biosynthesized in the HMP shunt and the 5 molecules of the glucose 6-phosphate produced, that means regenerated in the HMP shunt. Significance of the HMP shunt. HMP shunt, that is the unique in the generating two important products, that is the pentose sugar and the NADPH, which is used for the other reactions and the biosynthetic of the other molecules. Next, importance of the pentose sugar. In the HMP shunt, hexoses that is converted into the pentoses. The most important, that is the ribose 5-phosphate. As we know, that is the pentose sugar and its derivative that are useful for the synthesis of the nucleic acid, which is the RNA and the DNA. And the many nucleotides such as ATP, NAD+, FAD and the coenzyme A synthesis. Importance of the NADPH. The NADPH, that is the required for the reductive biosynthesis, that means the biosynthesis of the fatty acids and the steroids. So HMP shunts, that is the more active in the tissues which is concerned with the lipogenesis, that means lipid synthesis, that is the adipose tissues and the liver. NADPH, that is the used in the synthesis of certain amino acids involving the enzyme glutamate dehydrogenase. So NADPH, that is useful for the synthesis of the certain amino acids. There is a continuous production of the hydrogen peroxide in the living cells which can chemically damage the unsaturated lipids and the proteins and the DNA. So the generation of the hydrogen peroxide in the living cell, so they can damage the lipids, protein and the DNA. So the NADPH, that is the responsible for this, the reduction of the hydrogen peroxide to the water molecule. In this reaction, there is glutathione, that is detoxify the hydrogen peroxide in the presence of the NADPH. Here is the pathway where the NADPH how responsible for the glutathione. Glutathione, that is the detoxify the hydrogen peroxide. Microsomal cytochrome 450 system brings about the detoxification of the drugs and the foreign compounds by hydroxylation reactions involving NADPH. The microsomal P450, cytochrome P450, especially in the liver, which useful for the detoxification of the drugs and the foreign compounds, foreign matters by the hydroxylation reaction which involves the NADPH. Phagocytosis, that is the engulfment of the foreign particles, that is the swallow of the foreign particles including the microorganism carried out by the white blood cells. This process requires the supplies of the NADPH. So NADPH, that is the importance to the our body. Special function of the NADPH in the RBC. NADPH produced in the erythrocytes has the special functions to perform. It maintains the concentration of the reduced glutathione, which is essentially requires the integrity of the RBC membrane. NADPH, that is the also necessary to keep the ferrous ion in the form hemoglobin in the reduced state, so the accumulation of the methemoglobin, that is the prevented. In the presence of the in the hemoglobin, there is a ferrous ion they produce in the reduced state, so accumulation of the methemoglobin, that is the Fe3 plus, that is prevented. So it is useful in the RBC. High concentration of the NADPH in the lenses of the eyes, it is necessary to preserve the transparency of the cell. For the transparency of the cell, there is a high concentration of the NADPH requires in the lenses of eye. Glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency. GP6PD deficiency occurs in the all cells of the affected individuals. It is the more severe in the RBC. HMP shunt, it is only means of providing NADPH in the erythrocytes. Decreasing the activity of this enzyme impairs the synthesis of the NADPH in the RBC. Glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase enzyme deficiency, which leads to the impairs in the synthesis of NADPH into the RBC. This result in the accumulation of the methemoglobin, that means Fe3 plus state and the peroxide in erythrocytes, which leads to the hemolysis. The clinical manifestation in the G6PD deficiency, the most of the patients with this deficiency do not usually exhibit the chemical symptoms. Some of them develop the hemolytic anemia. Because of the hemolysis, the patient develop the hemolytic anemia. And if they are the administered with the oxidant drugs or the export to the severe infections, likewise the drugs, that is the primaquine, acetanilide, sulfamethoxazole, or the injection of the fava beans produce the hemolytic jaundice in this patient. So most of the clinical manifestation for the G6PD deficiency, that is the hemolytic jaundice. The biochemical diagnosis can be done by the detecting the reducing activity of the G6PD. The biochemical diagnosis of G6PD deficiency, the reduced activity of that the enzyme. The management of the G6PD deficiency. How can we manage the G6PD deficiency? The avoiding of the oxidative stress. The first management, that is the avoiding oxidative stress, and second the treatment of the hemolysis. So these two treatment that is the available for the deficiency of G6PD, that is the avoiding oxidative stress and the treatment of the hemolysis. Thank you.